Assalamu alaikum viewers. This is your host Farooq Ahmed for CAREERZ360 Business Insight. Today we will be discussing emerging employment trends with our guest. Viewers, today world is going through massive changes in relation to world's economy and business, which is formally known as Industrial Revolution or Revolution 4.0. This promises to transform every aspect of our lives, including the way we produce, consume, communicate, and generate power. So to give you some background, the invention of steam engine in 19th century brought the first industrial revolution, which led to immense growth and productivity and also raise of living standard. The later part of 19th century and early 20th century is a period when the world's economy went through another era of high growth and productivity, which was mainly led by advancement in manufacturing and production technology. Mass production models and assembly lines were the key drivers in this episode of growth, and it's important to mention the name of Henry Ford, who mastered the art of running assembly lines and was able to manufacture automobiles at much more low cost. The third revolution, also known as the digital revolution, was the result of widespread spread adoption of digital computing and communication technology. The later part of 20th century saw a massive transformation where the digitization of technology started and marked the beginning of what we know today as the information age. Today, again, we are witnessing another era where we would see massive changes how we do business and type of new opportunities arise in the employment market. This also means that many of the existing roles in the employment market would become redundant. So it's very important for all of us to understand these changes or transformations and get ourselves prepared for new world that would emerge after all this. I would I must say that the world belongs to those who innovate, learn, and adopt. Our guest today is a very successful and accomplished professional who has headed IT teams of world leading organizations such as IBM and Telenor, and now serving as a country head global consulting at Teradata. He is not only proud for his family, but also proud for our country. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Mr. Haroon. जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम हारून साहब कैसे हैं आप?
Walaikum Assalam. Thank you very much for the illustrious introduction. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be at this forum.
Thanks a lot. I think I definitely would like to say that, and not just from Careers 360, but also on the behalf of members of Careers 360. We also all would like to know more about you, your professional and career journey. So let me start with this question, Harun Saab. In terms of your story, a lot of people, aspire to climb up the corporate ladder. So how that actually happened for you?
It's a, many people ask me this question. Uh, Honestly speaking, I don't know how I did it, but uh, what I can say is I believe in certain principles, and I believe that those principles are the cornerstone of how we should live as human beings and how we should live in a professional environment as well. So this is what I have been, living by, and 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 finally, those principles coupled with the trust in the Almighty that He's out there looking after us, and we are out here doing whatever we should be doing best. So those principles are the ones that help me um, through my professional journey over the last 20 years. So और plus ये माओ की दुआएं माँ बाप जो होते हैं उनकी दुआएं so that your parents are an asset, so they kind of have contribute in you being where you are and who you are actually.
Definitely.
So yeah, but if you want me, I can talk about those as well. But this is what I believe in. So one thing that's really very very important for me, which is you know our belief system, which is from a religious perspective, certain elements that I believing in the Almighty and knowing that if nobody is seeing me what I'm doing wrong, there's somebody else up there seeing that I'm doing something wrong. So not doing anything wrong, which means being truthful, being honest to your job.
That's good.
Not because your manager is going to evaluate you, but this is your job, this is your obligation. So if you're honest with your job, you're honest with your responsibilities, irrespective of who judges you, like what, I think that's one of the key elements. Secondly, I think evolving evolving yourself, and when I say evolving, evolving from a professional perspective. If I think that what I am is is the pinnacle of what I should be, then I've lost it all. So I have to evolve as a professional. So I have to grow, and growth doesn't always mean that you grow in the hierarchy. Growth means growing in knowledge, striving to learn more, striving to learn different aspects of work, striving to learn different work. I, by my education, am a I did my college in pre-medicine. I did my undergrad in economics and statistics. I did my master's in business administration, and I did for 4 years pure accountancy and advisory services. And now I am heading an IT company.
Okay.
So this transformation from being a pure accounting guy to a technology professional doesn't come just like that. It comes with that striving for knowledge, thirst for knowledge, learning, continuously evolving. So जब हम बात करते हैं, when we talk about evolution, instantly we talk about those Darwin's evolution. I don't believe in the word evolution the way Darwin has projected it, but I strongly believe in the word evolution as a human being, from what we are into what we should be.
Good, good.
So that's the evolution that one needs uh, to adapt,
Mhm.
adopt it basically. That's the second thing that I believe in. Um, Third is the passion. One has to have the passion to to do all of this. You know, you need to be passionate to love that Almighty. You need to be passionate to evolve, to learn, to deliver. You need to be passionate to be honest. The passion is what drives your actions. So, yeah. So I am passion. Passion. People call me workaholic. I tell them, I'm not workaholic. I'm passionate about what I do.
What I do. Mhm.
Because workaholic is that at the end of it, after you work for 12 hours or you put in an all-nighter, you say I'm tired. That's
Mhm.
called being workaholic. Or passion is you work for 24 consecutive hours and you set up. You say, man, I did something.
Yeah.
What's next? That's passion. So passion is what drives you to achieve the next level. So I believe I've touched those elements of passionism, though I think you know there could be many other ways of exercising that passion. But yeah, that's what I still strive for it. And um, yeah, so I think those are the basic elements.
I
Uh,
think definitely you've really, I mean, in terms of the principle that you've mentioned, I mean, being spiritually strong and also have the principle of, concept of lifelong learning. I mean, especially in these days
yeah,
when we talk about uh, economy that is constantly changing, one has to make sure they are agile enough to adopt to those changes. And it's the third one you mentioned is you must have a passion. Um,
yeah,
I mean, in terms of like, I would the question that probably I would like to ask here is that, like, a lot of people start their journey, their professional journeys, but not many of them are successful to get to the point where you are able to get there. And uh, I mean, what are the reasons do you think people fail to achieve those?
You know, am I a success? I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, the reason is success is a perspective,
Hmm.
and failure is a perspective as well. For my parents, I'm a failure. The reason being, I come from a family of doctors and engineers,
Right.
and my father is a pediatrician. My brother is a neurosurgeon, and he wanted me to be a doctor as well.
Okay.
Um, for them, I was a failure.
Very true.
See, and then I started doing chartered accountancy, and I thought that probably I'll be successful there.
Hmm.
I started doing it. I was successful in doing it, but then I wasn't happy with doing it.
Hmm.
I came till the end and I left it. I was a
Hmm.
failure there as well.
Right.
Okay, and then I started uh, doing a job in finance because my entire background was finance. In the middle of it, I had to leave it. I was a failure. I came into, you mentioned IBM. I started my consulting from IBM, and that's where I got the breakthrough uh, of working in technology products.
Hmm.
And but my core area, which was finance and finance related projects, they were not much there. I was a failure.
Hmm.
And then I moved into, ERP products, implementations, technology implementation, technology solutioning implementations. So, you see, our journeys are are full of failures and successes.
True.
It's the perspective with which we see them.
Hmm.
I never saw my journey of moving or not becoming a doctor or not becoming a chartered accountant or not being successful at a finance job as my failures.
True.
I always looked at them as opportunities because I believe that if something is happening to me, there's meant to be something that I need to do right, or I need to figure it out what is right.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe my destiny is somewhere else, and these are all the path to those destinies, to my destiny. So, okay, it's very easier said than done, um, because we all go through those cycles of frustration. You know, you don't get a job, or you are not able to get your dream job. So who said I got a dream job till even now? Even now, I feel like I should be the CEO of or the country head of those XYZ pharma companies or those FMCGs or those telcos.
True. True.
Is this my dream job? No, man. When I see those CEOs roaming around in those big cars and flashy things, so where is success and where is failure? It lies here.
It lies here. Yeah. True.
And what I did, one thing was, and I've summarized my life cycle or my entire life in a philosophy which I call Iman Ishq Junoon.
Nice.
So it's again that's my perspective.
True.
Okay, if you have that strong faith and love what you do with the passion that is needed to do it, no matter whether you are a failure to others, you are successful to yourself.
True. True.
And that is at the end of the day what counts. The problem that we as a community or as a generation, um, even though I have quite a bit of white hair, but trust me, I'm not that old or to that old generation. Uh, our generation and the one that is especially those we call the millennials, the challenge they're facing is they they are looking at everything from a perspective, from a reference.
Hmm.
They're looking at defining success as Haroon or as Imran Khan or as XYZs. as success, which is not right, which is not right, because success doesn't mean that you have more money. Success doesn't mean that you have a great job. Success doesn't mean that you are the big boss. Success means what is the impact you are creating, how much are you
True.
loved, and how much are you contributing to the people around you.
That's very
That
nice.
is success. So, मेरे लिए, this is the learning I want to share with everybody, that
Sure.
I have never, I have never, and I can claim this with full authority, that maybe once only, but I have never ever negotiated on either a salary or a position.
Wow.
Why? And the only one time that I have, I regret it. Else I would have a clean slate all my entire career. Why? Because I never believed in the fact that either it is Farooq that is going to make me successful,
Hmm.
or is it Haroon or my boss or my manager who's going to pay for me. My earnings, because I have that ishq with the
Hmm.
Almighty, I personally believe that everything comes from them, from Him.
Very nice.
Then I don't need to worry about what my boss is going to give me.
Hmm.
So then, if I am not expecting anything in return, then I will definitely give everything from my side,
Right. Yeah.
because I have that passion to give. Because, giving is easy because that's in my control.
Hmm.
Taking is not in my control.
True.
What you are going to give me is not in my control. So, when you develop that kind of a perspective, that success is what I want as success. So I need to correct my perspectives. I need to correct the fact that that billionaire is not my criteria. My criteria is how much do I contribute to my family, to myself, to my knowledge,
True.
to my learnings. When you start looking at that perspective, you will see that you will feel a level of satisfaction. And satisfaction for me at the end of the day is success.
That's very
So I'm
nice.
sorry, I
No,
might
no,
not be going the traditional way of, uh, you know, defining. I can do that, I can absolutely do that. But one thing we all need to understand is your principles, your philosophical foundation makes you who you are.
true. True.
Maybe not today, but in times to come.
Thanks. True.
And if you don't lay that foundation correctly as a human being, as an individual, for yourself, and of course for the kids that you will be having, but if you don't lay that foundation for yourself, it will be very difficult to correct yourself in times to come.
True. True. No, I
So
think बड़ी अच्छी बात की आपने. I mean, you've basically, in terms of success or failure, is a perspective. I mean, one person can see it as a, very successful and something, they would love to have. But for some other person, the same situation might not be a success, or
yeah,
otherwise
yeah,
it could be a
absolutely.
failure as well.
Even my own family. I mean, the
Mhm.
reason I'm saying is because of my own family. I used to be extremely workaholic, passionate but workaholic. Wasn't able to balance time.
Mhm.
My family never considered me to be successful, because if I'm not able to give time to them, what does success mean to them? Nothing. But when I was able to adjust my routines, learn, adapt, as I said, we need to continuously keep on evolving. I evolved, I changed my routines, I did my work, so my work never got impacted, but my family got satisfied. So that satisfaction is success for me.
That's
Whatever I was contributing extra to work wasn't a satisfaction for me. So that is success.
definitely. I think this is very important in terms of making sure that every step, either if you are successful or a failure, you learn from your experience, and then
Absolutely.
you move on and you try to do it better than the last time. That's how
Yes.
you keep on evolving, like you said in the beginning. And that is important for anybody to progress, and in any direction, either it could be personal level or spiritual level or a professional level. Uh,
We, yeah, please,
Hansab,
please
I
go on.
just like to ask here is basically, these days there is a lot of noise out there. Not actually these days, probably last 5, 10 years, the entrepreneurship and but then these are two very distinct, separate things. Like I see them as a separate in terms of like either you can be an entrepreneur, independent, or want to be your own boss. Whereas if you are working within an organization, you basically want to climb up the corporate ladder as you move forward. So, I mean, what do you say, like, what do you advise to young people who are graduating or maybe in the middle of transitioning from one place to another? That, do you think entrepreneurship is for everybody, or is it like, only certain people should actually try to do that?
Okay, well, again, I have a very, very different opinion on entrepreneurship and the current trend that is happening within our uh, startup community.
Hmm.
Um, I believe entrepreneurship is the difference between being and having an entrepreneurship mindset and being a startup runner. Entrepreneurship is a is an inherent trait which can be acquired through practice or which could be learned in a university as well. However, we need to be very um, careful of how we direct the entrepreneurship mindset into practice.
Hmm.
So the how part is very important. What is happening at the moment is that entrepreneurship is being stigmatized. I rather call it stigmatized with only startups, and those two primarily technology startups,
Hmm.
and we call them that they are the only entrepreneurs who are building up startups, getting incubated, getting funding, raising funding. They are the only entrepreneurs. Eh, I was doing this case study with a friend of mine yesterday, last evening, and in fact, continuing our discussion today as well. I met this individual in one of my meetings. I had to go to Gulberg. So there's a society around here. I had to go there. I met this gentleman, a very nice car, very young. I met him and we had a small chat. We were waiting for somebody in the office, so we had a casual chat. And he tells me that he lives in a farmhouse right outside Islamabad. He has a couple of cars. He has, he's got a Merc out there. Very young guy, and I was like, nice, good. What do you do? He was like, I have my own. I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business. I said, okay, nice. What kind of business is it? He said, I sell biryani.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, you have a restaurant? So you own a restaurant? I said, no, no, no. I don't have a restaurant. Then what do you have? He said, I have a setup where I may get the biryani made and I use the ecosystem of delivery boys and needy people who can sell my biryani at a spot
Wow.
and I earn out of it. I said, what do you mean? You earn to have a Mercedes? And he gave me the statistics, literally, and I verified those statistics. That gentleman used to sell 50 big, those big
Jim,
10 kg
pots,
um,
yeah.
bags. Yeah, I don't know what they call it in English, but so they get those big drums of biryani made, which are approximately 15 kg total, including the chicken and the rice. They get those made, 50 of them, supplied to 50 individuals who have their own infrastructure, and he makes approximately 100,000 a month from one big pot.
Wow.
a month. So one pot, so 50 pots is what, 5 million rupees a month.
That's pretty good.
Net, net profit.
Wow, that's good.
Did he have a startup? Was he incubated somewhere? Did he have those fancy presentations being done? The answer is no.
Yeah,
But is he an entrepreneur? I think he's the one of the most successful entrepreneurs out there in the market. So
I would agree.
entrepreneurship is not only going for technology solutions, technology products, IT products. Entrepreneurship is having the heart and the soul to invest in a problem that you believe in, or in a business that you believe in.
Mhm.
It is not about only having those fancy setups. So, so, so what I think is it's ageless thing. There
Mhm.
is no limit for entrepreneurship. You can start as young as 15, and you can start as old as 55, 75, 65, whatever. There is no age limit for entrepreneurship. But being classified as a successful entrepreneur, it takes time. It's a journey.
Mhm.
You can't be like Facebook or Google or Spotify. What was it? Elon Musk.
Mhm.
They are unique examples. What the problem I see in the current ecosystem is, our multiple startup communities are portraying these highly successful unicorns as a benchmark for a guy who's just come out of the university, is passionate, but doesn't have the means.
True.
So what they do is they encash their means, the
Mhm.
money they can generate, into running their own centers,
Mhm.
into 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 hijacking their ideas, because we don't have a legislation around how to protect the intellectual capital coming from a entrepreneur's mind. If I have an idea, I want to register that idea. Where do I go and quickly register that idea and develop an IP on it, and then I go and start a startup around? So unfortunately, in Pakistan, we are seeing a lot of great people with an entrepreneurial mindset, with the zeal to deliver, zeal to contribute, kind of getting lost.
Mhm.
So, and secondly, they only think that, and they think that yeah, selling a biryani, or opening a mechanical shop, or opening a electrical shop, or providing an electrical service is is uh, is demeaning to their
Mhm.
family status.
True. True.
So, so yeah, so even having a simple shoe polish, automated shoe polish, which you normally get at different hotels, creating that small device is called having an entrepreneurial mindset.
True.
But we would not like to do that because that's kind of below our uh, standard. So yeah, that's my point of view on
I
entrepreneurship.
understand. Yeah.
It's ageless, it is limitless, but unfortunately, in our ecosystem in Pakistan, that has been kind of limited to certain areas only.
Definitely. And one thing I just like to add, I mean, in terms of like, uh, because of the hype uh, out there of being an entrepreneur or, going into a direction where you can basically eventually own your own business and seeing success through that angle, I would say that probably in terms of the personality, it also there are certain traits one has to have to make sure
Yeah,
to become a
yeah.
successful entrepreneur, which uh, sometimes come naturally, and sometimes you say they can be taught and learned from the university as well. So
I'll give you an example. You know that doctors normally have clinics.
yeah,
Very
that's
very simple thing. If there's a doctor, he has a private practice, he has a clinic. But my dad was never an entrepreneur. never had that mindset of being an entrepreneur. And he never worked in a government organization,
Mhm.
but he worked in a private organization as a doctor with others because he didn't have that entrepreneurial mindset.
Mhm.
So I fully agree with you that it also comes naturally. It also comes from the environment which you are coming from. Uh, Since my parents were never those entrepreneurs, I never got that hint of opening my own uh, organization or setup or startup or anything. So I ended up going through a proper job based living
Career path,
structure.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be different. People have environments, people have their backings, the family learnings, home learnings, and then those indigenous internal zeal and those aspirations to become entrepreneurs. That also helps in creating that successful direction of moving and making an impact being an entrepreneur.
That's true. That's true. Um, uh, Harun Saab, the next thing I just like to talk about in terms of your organization, Teradata, and I suppose it's one of those leading organizations which basically also contributing and impacting in terms of digital transformation and how this new post-COVID world is going to be, and also participating in this new revolution we call it Industrial Revolution 4.0. So for our members, if you could kindly just quickly walk us through in terms of what is Teradata and
Yeah. Teradata is a company which is around 40 plus years old. It again started off as a startup, as an entrepreneur. Our big boss, he he started off as a university project, as his PhD project,
Mhm.
and built it up as a warehousing company, a database company. And over the years, we've evolved. Um, we've evolved slowly because we had that pride of being the best. And at times, this pride also kind of kicks you hard in your behind when if you're not evolving.
Mhm.
So, but we did evolve. We late, but we did evolve, and we now are purely from a data warehouse or a hardware company to a software and services company. So we provide technology solutions which help you harness the power of your data.
Mhm.
So we assist companies who have embarked on the fourth industrial revolution. We help ease in terms of making them understand and make sense out of the data that is being generated as a result of the digital transformation that's coming in.
Mhm.
Since everything is now moving from manual to digital, and now from digital to automated digitalization, or should I say, AI based decision making is coming in. So, less and less human intervention, more and more digital execution. When the digital execution starts to increase, when the fourth IR becomes kind of a norm, so you see a lot of sensors coming in, you see a lot of automated decision making coming in, so you see a lot of information and data coming in.
Mhm.
So this is only internal data. Then think about the external data, the data in the outside environment, the data generated by social media, the data generated by your competitors, the aggregation of that data, the data generated by the macroeconomic and the microeconomic indicators in a country. All of that becomes reference points for you to make a decision in presence and think about what to do in the future.
Future is
So we help them understand what has happened, what is happening real time, and what should they plan for the future and how should they plan for the future in terms of what is coming in the future
Mhm.
based on the set of data inside the organization and outside the organization. So this is what Teradata does.
And Harun sir, is it like specific to a certain vertical, or like it's open for anything?
We primarily so okay. So how our businesses is structured is we look at from a two three-dimensional perspective. One is the industry.
Hmm.
So aviation industry, transportation industry, government, retail, pharmaceutical, health, and similarly telecom. So these are the different industry verticals. And then we look at it from a functional perspective, you
Right.
know, supply chain, finance, reporting. Um, Similarly, we go for with is your technical solutions. So there's a lot of different domains that we work with. And the third one is the third dimension is our solutioning dimension, which is do we provide storage, do we provide processing power, cloud, on-prem, or what kind of software and processing powers do we provide, and what kind of functions within those software do we provide. So that's the third dimension of it, which is more of a static one, but
Hmm.
the rest of the two are the dynamic ones, the combination of which helps us provide the right solution to our customers.
That sounds good. And I mean, definitely in terms of like, uh, every industrial revolution, actually, there is a transformation. So some of the roles become redundant, and then new opportunities and new roles become available. So, what do you see in terms of like, top five most valuable skills or areas where you see there be a growth?
See, I may not, I may not have the right numbers or the right figures or the right priority, to be honest.
Hmm.
So my statement is very much going to be relevant to the domain that I operate in.
Hmm.
So please do not consider it as the one that one should aim for. But if you want to be within the analytics area, this is what we see. So what I believe in are two things. One is what makes a what makes a individual learn is the skills,
Hmm.
and from a technology perspective, and what makes a man actually or a human being actually successful is the attitude that they carry with. So in terms of the attitude, one has to be a constant learner. This age, especially the fourth after this uh, fourth industrial revolution coming in, um, our jobs are constantly evolving.
Hmm.
What I used to do and how I used to do it 2 years back is no longer relevant this year.
Hmm.
So I need to be constantly learning.
Hmm.
Uh, हमारे ज़माने में this was the evolution or the evolvement process was 4 5 year based. Now it has shrunk down to 2 years or 1 year.
True.
Maybe what you're doing this year may not be that successful next year because we've experimented with it,
Hmm.
done and dusted, gone. Now we're trying something else.
Hmm.
So learning and evolving, so that's one trait I think that from an attitude perspective, one needs to have. From a technical skill perspective, we need to what is going to be the future is going to be your I'll name top five that come to my mind is number one is machine learning,
Hmm.
artificial intelligence, um, agile framework and agile way of doing your deliveries, and finally using as much as automation for your processes,
Hmm.
the RPA. I think they are going to be the top five areas from my perspective within the analytics area. Again,
And
I said
yeah,
this is from my
I
perspective. This is
understand.
where I feel that they have a huge potential.
Sure, sure,
Just like a few years back, Java and Angular had a huge potential.
sure.
Um, Now it's going to be definitely and absolutely. I'm not undermining those tools and technologies now. They're still important, but when it comes to
Relevant, yeah.
priority, it's going to be the top one that is going to pay you more, and that will have a lot of demand. So those are the ones that I mentioned.
Definitely. I mean, I totally agree in terms of like ability to adapt to change will be one of the very key and valuable trait that one can possess. And I remember reading an article in that article, the author actually was arguing about saying, you know, the world has become really flat in terms of how the information, access to information. So regardless you are in a developed country sitting in US, Europe, or in Australia, somewhere else, or in Pakistan, you probably have similar access to information. So as long as you have, like you said, you have the attitude to learn, you can learn regardless of the location. So this is one thing. And the other thing as well, like you mentioned, is important. Like, you know, 4 or 5 years previously was a time when transition used to take place. You learned some skills and they were remain valid for at least 4 or 5 years. Now things have changed very quickly. And do you think how people are adopting to this, especially, I mean, you know, or should is there any a threshold where we should say, you know, just like, you know, you're driving a car, they say that's a motorway, there's a speed limit of 110. You can't go any faster than this. So do you see as a human being an individual, there is a limit or there is no limit at all?
You need to understand why is there a limit when it comes to driving on a motorway or
Mhm.
any road. It is to prevent either yourself, sorry, both yourself and others from having or indulging into an accident,
Mhm.
or should I say an impact, negative impact. So all those limitations are kept or established in order to protect you from having a negative impact on yourself or others. Similarly, in terms of your learning attitude and your continuous growth, you need to see what is it and how is it impacting the people around you and yourself. If my continuous learning or my continuous indulgence in building my career and concentrating on the work has an impact on my health because I'm not sleeping well, it's impacting my decision making powers, is having an impact on my family where I'm not able to connect with them or my friends around me, or is making me socially distant. I need to see how long can I carry with it. So there is no limitation, as I would say. No, you learn for 3 years and stop learning after that. Life is not like that. Life is a continuous evolutionary process. The only thing that you can do is to maintain that pace.
Mhm.
Some people can maintain that fast pace for a very long period of time, and some people, again, not artificially, willingly.
Willingly, yes.
And some people are not able to maintain that pace willingly for a shorter period of time. So it varies from person to person. But the only thing that matters to them should be um how is it impacting them and their families. One needs to be not selfish. For example, the way you mentioned that the car drives, if the driver becomes selfish, may impact others
True.
and may also impact himself. He may die. But similarly, in terms of life as well, you have to see how do you create that balance. The fine balance is what you need to learn. And there are
Definitely.
many people out there who can help you learn the art of balancing professionally.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm only sharing from my experience, but I'm not an expert on this. The
Mhm.
people out there who help you understand how to balance your life in profession and otherwise.
Definitely. No, I think definitely. I totally agree. It depends on individual as well. Just like, you know, you're playing sports. Some people have tendency to do naturally well, and they can probably, you know, have much more greater strength than the others. In the same way, I think in also
I,
in the yep. Sorry.
no, carry on.
Did I was saying this, Gabe. I agree that based on individual, and you have to find the right balance in terms of what suits you. And I think I'll go back to that point again where you said, what defines success for you. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so
I'll share with
mhm,
this. Sorry, if we have time, I'll just like to share these two quick examples.
sure, sure.
These are personal life examples, not of myself. Um, I was flying from San Francisco to Chicago, and I met on the plane a gentleman who was sitting right next to me, and we had a I like to interact with people, so I had a quick chat with him, and I found out he was the ex-manager of um, the legend, the basketball legend. I'm forgetting his name. I'll recall that name. So he was there, and um, he we had a quick discussion, and I was like, how is he doing? Um, Let me just very quickly Google the name. Uh, I am. This is so embarrassing,
That's all
but
right.
let me.
I'm not into basketball, so sorry I can't help it. But,
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
know.
so he was the manager of Michael Jordan. So he told me the story, and I was like, what does he do? How does he maintain that? And this is back in 2009, 10. I'm talking about, and he had, I think, retired by that time. So
Mhm.
we had a chat, and I realized that Michael Jordan contributed to approximately 200 and something losses because of him not being able to basket correctly. So
Wow.
200 and something games he lost in his career. Similarly, we never get to see, when we look at these successful people, we never get to see the failures that they had gone through,
Gone through, yeah.
the kind of
Very true.
criticism that they had gone through, the level of pressure and the low life in terms of the lowness of life that they go
Go through, yeah.
through. Another story is about this. I was sitting in Belgium, in Amsterdam. Sorry, I was sitting in on a stool in a museum, which was Van Gogh's museum. Van Gogh is a famous artist,
Mhm.
and he's a very famous. I mean, his paintings sell for millions of dollars. And there I was sitting, and I was looking at a painting, and I was like, what is in this painting? Why is he so famous? And so I don't like this painting. So I'm not a museum guy. I was sitting there because my friends were there, and I read about this guy Van Gogh. And what I found out was he was never recognized for his paintings in his lifetime.
Wow.
But for him, the success was to be happy with the creation that he
Good.
had made.
Made. True, true.
And after his death, he got all the recognition. So success and passion, they go hand by hand, but only from your perspective.
True.
The moment we start measuring success from others' perspective, we are deemed to be in deep trouble.
Deep trouble, definitely, and probably would never be happy, where do we stand and in terms of.
Absolutely.
I totally agree, Harun Sahab. I think definitely we really enjoyed, and I'm sure the viewers and our members who are watching right now also have enjoyed thoroughly in terms of the story that you have shared of your personal and professional journey, and also in terms of the principle that you've identified that one has to follow to make sure that you're on the right track. Uh, and I totally agree with that. I mean, without emphasizing, without overemphasizing, I would say lifelong learning, adaptability, and be passionate, be truthful, and believe in that you can you should work hard and make sure that you're happy what you're doing. So these are some of the things that one should follow to make sure they have a successful career and professional life. So finally, Harusab, I just like to get you know a piece of advice in terms of like you would like to give to Careers 360 and also its members. I mean, what final piece of advice would you like to give?
Um, my final piece, there's no final piece, but something I can contribute to your community is um, do whatever you do with a passion to learn, passion to contribute, and passion to make a difference. Whether it is your life or the life of your customer, once you do it with passion and with the love, I'm sure you will succeed. Be honest, as you said, be honest with yourself and give it your best. And leave the rest uh, to the divine force.
Very true. Very true. Thank you very much, Haroon Sab. Really appreciate your time. And hopefully, inshallah, we will touch base again soon. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz.